So my name is Jean Ambroise. I have been a customer success manager at EMnify for over a year and a half now. And today I will show you how to display and analyze your EMnify connectivity data and events in a BI tool called Quicksight offered by AWS. We're using a tool offered by AWS today because this webinar is part of the series explaining how the EMnify data streamer works. And we've shown in the past two webinars how to integrate this with AWS tools. That's why we're going the same way today. So first I will show you which kind of information you can see in the EMnify User Interface, how we display it, and what we can do with it. Then I will show you a dashboard that we have created before this webinar so that you can see what possibilities there are to analyze your data using Quicksight. And then I'll quickly show you how to live integrate it so that you can do it on your side. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question panel. If it's relevant to what I'm saying, I will answer them directly. Otherwise, we'll have the possibility at the end to make a Q&A session. So what kind of data do we have in the EMnify user interface? I have the feeling that most of the participants today use the EMnify user interface, so you all know how it looks. But as a reminder, we have different kinds of information. We have events showing how the EMnify, how endpoints are actually connecting to our platform, and we have data information showing the amount of data used, etc. So if I take the interface and go to my endpoints and look for one of my endpoints I've been using, I see the data which my endpoint has been using since the beginning of the month. I have statistics regarding my daily consumption, and I see the events and how my endpoint connected in the last hours. So it's very transparent and useful. However, as we have mentioned in the first webinar, we don't keep this information forever on the EMnify user interface. This is why we have shown you how to stream those data to an S3 bucket using the EMnify data streamer. Basically, the EMnify data streamer is a tool that enables you to extract all this data and send it to a third-party solution. It can be an S3 bucket, as we have done. It can be other solutions. In our case, as a reminder, if I look into my technical tab, we see that a data streamer has been created. It's currently being used. And if I take a look at my Amazon account, we can see that we have several buckets, but right now we are streaming everything to this specific bucket, and it's full of CSV files with the date when they have been received. So this is very useful, but those are CSV files, and basically we will see today how to analyze them with Quicksight, which will enable us to visualize them. Because right now we've been storing them, but we cannot do much with CSV files. So we will use Quicksight to see what is within those events. We've already got you covered using the EMnify user interface with specific dashboards, but we've noticed all those dashboards are great. However, the more information we provide to our customers, well, the more customers actually want to see, and they want more flexibility. So we always have recurring questions. How can I share my dashboards with my customers? So because some people don't want to show everything to their customers, only specific information. And they would like to be able to take the link of their dashboard, send it to somebody, but this is currently not possible. They also want to customize their dashboards or see everything on one page, etc., etc. So this is basically the freedom we give to our customers, a lot of transparency, and using the EMnify data streamer, you have the possibility to do all this using third-party tools. So how does it work? Basically, we have this done part. We're streaming everything to S3. And as a reminder, you have the possibility when you're streaming events to filter the events you want to send. If you don't want to have everything, you can only filter specific things. Right now, we're sending update GPRS location, create PDP context, and other things. And we're not taking all the update locations, for example, or the application authentication failed, or SIM deletion, etc. So depending on what you want to track, you can add more or less events. When you are creating a data streamer, as a reminder also, you can choose if you want to have only the usage data, so the amount of megabytes you're using, the events, or both. So if you want one dashboard that shows everything, you could use the one with events and usage data. So what we will see today is how to stream everything to a Quicksight, which is a great way to analyze and display those information. As a quick warning, Quicksight is a useful tool. However, it shouldn't be used for live monitoring because it will simply not work. You cannot refresh permanently. By default, you have one refresh a day. You can set further refresh. So it's rather to have a daily or monthly overview of your business and data, but not a live monitoring to have quick action once the device goes offline, for example. However, it will still enable you not only to have the information coming from the EMnify user interface, but as we are in the IoT business and the device on the left is connected to the internet, it's sending information to your cloud, and you will have the possibility on Quicksight to display both information. So sometimes customers don't really know if the problems they are encountering come from their application server or their connectivity, and they have to look a bit around. Using the event data streamer, sending everything to your cloud, you will have the possibility to aggregate all this information and see exactly what you want to see. And actually compare the information you get from one side and the information you get from the other side. One other warning regarding Quicksight, which I've noticed recently, is that the amount of data which it can receive from S3 is not unlimited. And if you want to send a very big amount of data from S3 to Quicksight, you should use a query system in the middle. And Amazon offers Athena. And we will also post a how-to explaining how to send everything to Quicksight through Athena so that you're not limited in the amount of information you're sending. As an example, we can take a look at a few dashboards that we have created. This is one dashboard mixing sensor information and PDP and data information. So on the left, we have one device sending information regarding the humidity and the temperature, for example. And on the right side, we have an analysis of the upload and download of the same device. So if we see that at one point in time, we have a drop of data, then it could explain why we don't receive temperature. But if my data is still coming in, but I don't see the temperature, then I might have a problem on the device. We can also have some kind of business review using Quicksight, where you would show the total volume of the current month in megabytes, the total cost, the amount of SIMs you're currently using, the evolution of your download and upload, which MNOs you're using the most, which endpoints are using most of your data, and where your devices are. So this has been built with the information sent from the EMnify User Interface and put into Quicksight. So this is basically the end result, and now I will show how to integrate this S3 with Quicksight. So the steps, once again, you have to make sure you have set up an EMnify data streamer, and you're streaming everything to your S3 bucket. So we have webinar EDS, and we can check that the last events are happening. The last event I've had is from today, so it seems to be working. Next step is on Quicksight itself. You need to make sure that Quicksight has access to S3. There's a lot of best practices given by Amazon regarding security. One of them is to only give access to what you need and not to too many resources. So usually whenever you're creating something on one service, you need to make sure that other services have access to it if they need to. So this is the first step, is to go in your Quicksight options, you go to security and permissions, and here you will be able to see the different tools and services Quicksight has access to. We can click on add and remove to check if our S3 bucket is part of it, because it has access to S3 in itself, but maybe not to this specific bucket. So we have S3, we click on details, 9 buckets, and we need to add the webinar EDS bucket. We finish and we update. All right. So now we would need to start a new analysis, but for that we need to let Quicksight know where to find the data. So we will go to manage data and add a new dataset. We click on S3. We give it a name. So webinar event EDS. And then we need to upload what they call a manifest file, which is basically a file telling Quicksight where the data is stored and what kind of format this data have. So we click on upload, and I have saved one specific file on my desktop, but let me show you how it looks. It's a text file that indicates the file location is this S3 bucket. One thing I forgot, AWS has different regions, Ireland, Frankfurt, etc. And your Quicksight needs to be in the same region as S3. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So here we've informed Quicksight that we want to get the information from the S3 bucket in EUS1 called webinar EDS. And the format is a CSV and the delimiter is a comma. So this has been saved, and I will take this file from my desktop, open it and connect. Okay, it's loading, and it tells me that the data set has been created. I can click directly on visualize, but I will have a ton of information. The first thing I would suggest when you're creating a new analysis, well, the first thing is to say, okay, I would like to have a list of all my events, and I just want to go through them and make sure I have all of them so that if I had an issue in the past, I can go through it and find what happened. So I would go to edit preview data, and here I will be able to say which data I want to keep, because in the CSV file we have lots of different information, and especially I will be able to rename certain fields. So right now I'm not sending any information about the users, so I don't really need the username information. Event description, yes, I will keep it. Organization name, not necessarily, because all this data comes only from one organization, so I can remove it. Then you will see some specific information that are relevant for the EMnify User Interface and the type of alert, if it's 0, 1, 2, or 3. But if you don't really know what it means, well, you can just remove it. The endpoint ID might be useful, but usually you work with endpoint names, so this we can remove also. The event type description, This, depending on what it is, it can be interesting. It's like delete PDP context, create PDP context, etc. So we will keep it. Organization ID we don't need. Event source ID also not. Severity description, is it an information on an alarm? You can keep it to make some statistics, for example. The source, we don't need it. The ID also not. The event type ID, we don't need. The timestamp, we definitely need that in order to make sure to know when we created a lot of PDP context or not, for example. Endpoint tags, we can keep this if you work with tags when you are filtering based on projects. SIM ID, we don't need. Endpoint email, we could keep it. Endpoint IP, we can keep. SIM ICC ID, we also keep. MSISDN, no. SIM production date, no. User ID, no. Username, no. This and this, no. So basically, I have filtered the amount of data I will see in my dashboard to make it easier to understand. I save, and I will be able to visualize. And so basically now I have all my data, and I will be able to display it in a useful way. I have different types of visuals, as you will be able to see following Quicksight tutorials. And if I want to have a table listing my events, I can choose the table, which is quite easy. And I will put some information in the value. So the first thing I want to have is the timestamp, for example. So I will have a list of timestamp. I want to see my CCIDs as well. And I want to know the endpoint name, the event type description, and the tags, for example. Well, we don't have any tags, so I will remove it. I will add the description. So basically here we will have the possibility to quickly display all the events that happened, and I will be able to filter based on specific ICC IDs. How to filter that? We have the filter option here, and I can add specific filters. So I can say I want to filter based on tags, if I were filtering with tags depending on my projects, but I can also filter with ICC IDs or endpoint name. So right now I'm including them all. However, I have the list, it's loading the values, and I will say, okay, I only want to have this information for the OnePlus, which is my device, and I apply the filter, and I can apply this for only this visual or not. Then I will be also to be able to filter based on the timestamp. Say I want to have all the events from this time to this time, so that if you've encountered an issue yesterday between 1 a.m. and 2 p.m., 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., hopefully not so long, you will be able to say, okay, this endpoint tried to connect at this time, the PDP was deleted because it reached its limit, and you have the explanation, and you will have it forever saved on your S3. And even if your customer is asking you 2 months later what happened, well, you will be able to tell him. And this is very helpful. So right now, as I have all the information, it's just a matter of being able to use Quicksight properly. As I said, I'm only filtering and sending the events right now, not the data coming from the EMnify User Interface. I could have this data set with both, so that I could display on one side the amount of PDP context created or deleted, and on the other side, the amount of data sent and received. And you can do all kind of other analysis as we've shown in the other dashboards. So you can have some KPIs, you have some specific graphs, and you have top 5 and a map. And the map will be used in the next webinar we'll have in 2 months, again with Brian, where we'll show how to display the location of our endpoints in an interactive way on the map. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I done with the live integration basically.